Welcome to the Create and Grow Your Brain podcast. I am your host, Janine Letford, talking everything about brain health, brain creativity, intercultural creativity, neurosomatic creativity, prismatic leadership, and of course, everything fun, the new, exciting, innovative news. And of course, I have with me the top thinkers in the area of brain health, mind body connection, and just the things that we need to live our best lives. I have with me Dr. Helen Lavretsky, and she's a professor of psychiatry at I think, the best school in the nation, University of California, Los Angeles, my alma mater, class of 2002. And just love that place. And it's an honor to have you here. You're a geriatric integrative psychiatrist with a federally funded research program of integrated mental health and aging. Dr. Helen is a recipient of multiple research and professional awards for her work in geriatric mental health and integrative medicine. Her work has been featured in numerous journal publication magazines, TV, and radio shows, and on social media platforms as well. She's the author of the upcoming book, Living from the Soul, the Neuroscience of Spiritual Awakening, and you can pre-order it now, and it is out July 7th, 2026. Welcome to the Create and Grow Your Brain Capital podcast, Dr. Helen.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for announcing my book. It's so exciting to hear it. Somebody else say it.
Yes, I personally think no one should leave this earth without trying to write at least one book, even if it's small and it's just your memoir, your opinions about things. It's like there's
Oh, your
something,
life, your life. You know,
yeah, there's something transcendent about it. How was that process for you?
definitely transcendent,
Mhm.
So it was a different book. This is my fifth book, but this is the first book that I dared to write
Mm,
as a person rather than a professional. And I'm not speaking to professional, I'm speaking to regular people who want to know about their brain and they are seeking spiritual awakening or
hmm
are in the process of one and they have questions. So the book was offering solutions, meditations, practical exercises to kind of streamline your own management of your self-regulation. There's a lot about self-regulation, but also a lot of people on the planet Earth are now experiencing spiritual awakening
hmm
and don't know what to do with it. It's kind of frightening to them. So the book explains how to go about it and step by step and what to do if you're scared.
Yes, and that's so good because people are on their journey basically through life, right? I say it's like an arc, or sometimes it's like a circle. I was looking at a Ferris wheel. It's like, how do we get on the Ferris wheel? We can't feed ourselves, we can't go to the bathroom by ourselves, and we go through life, and suddenly we're back to where we started. But that journey through life, and for people to start to be curious about that aspect. Some are, some are raised in different situations, but some people are just now coming into it. And I definitely want to get to that, but let's talk about just how did you get into geriatric medicine and what is integrative medicine?
Right. So ever since I was a child, I was born in a family of a psychiatrist and neurologist. So since early age, my parents were writing their thesis. I thought that that's the way to live their lives, your life. You have to write a thesis, have to be a scientist, and you have to study brain and behavior. And I started working in a psychiatric hospital when I was 15.
Mm,
It was a real passion, but I also was like a very sensitive soul child tuned into others, so I could translate. My first patient was my friend of 3 years of age who was mute and he couldn't speak, but I could intuitively understand what he wants to say, convey. And I would translate to others, he wants this, or he's saying that this is it. And, and many years later, after so many years of training, all over the place and doing research, I'm not doing things differently. It's just tuning into another person and understanding what they are trying to convey to the world and translating it to the world.
And I love what you said when you're talking about your book. I'm not writing it as a professional. I'm writing it as a person to the people. And yeah, I feel that that's the kind of all my calling. As you know, I don't know if you were at the United Nations event in New York in September, but I just love being with the professionals and seeing the journals and everything. But then my job is how do you talk to an 8-year-old about what they just talked about, right? And there's a gift, there's a skill. So what of that? What skills do you think that takes for we need more translators, more bridge of the high neuroscientists and the high academics to the person working at Walmart just trying to raise 3 kids, you know? What skills do we need to be better at that?
Well, as my book suggests, we should talk as soul to soul, which is like a deeper connection. There are no hierarchy, there's no professional top-down
Mhm.
relationship. And we are basically each other's mirror, and we are creating space for our own evolution, our soul's evolution. And that's all that is. There's nothing else.
Mhm.
We play roles as professionals
Mhm.
or as patients, but those are just roles.
And to be better connected, right? Because it
Right.
seems like we are very divided, and yeah, it's like them up there and we're over here, and that's what I was telling if you know Dr. Harris, it's like us. I feel like everyone's so separated. Like the neurosciences are over there, and the educators are back there, and the artists are over there somewhere. So like, how do we get better? But I love that soul to soul. And what with your main work with aging, what new research is coming out that we can start applying in our lives in the day to day?
Well, it's actually looking up, and baby boomers who are aging now are very proactive and trying to protect. I mean, that's a very voluminous population generation. It's baby boomers, a lot of them. And all of a sudden, everybody's getting older. And how do we survive that? How do we live longer and better and not needing being placed in a nursing home or not being dependent on our children, not having Alzheimer's disease? I mean, or heart or stroke or heart disease. So they try to prevent, this generation is trying to be proactive in preventing disorders of aging, which is commendable, and they would like to pursue a healthy lifestyle and do everything they can to prolong their well-being and longevity. And so we're speaking to a receptive audience, and at the same time, the neurological field and neuropsychiatric field understood that about 40 to 45% of risk factors for Alzheimer's disease, let's say, are preventable
Mhm.
and lifestyle based. So we actually are composing programs, and my research and others has documented that really your success depends on what you do, what you choose to do with your time, your diet, your sleep, your exercise. And you have to invest, you have to be proactive, you have to invest into yourself, understand your risk factors. For instance, people who have family history of Alzheimer's disease or other diseases have to know what their risk factors are and work with them, like this actors who are discovering that they have a genetic risk factor for Alzheimer's disease lead very active lifestyle
Mhm.
in order to prevent the onset of Alzheimer's disease. And as new supplements and new drugs are being developed, eventually this really devastating disorder might become like cancer is now a chronic disease, manageable disease with treatments and prevention strategies available. And so my own research showed that by doing mind-body practices, becoming aware of your mind-body connections via yoga or breathing techniques or meditation or Tai Chi, Qigong, art, you have the tools to self manage risk factors, and you grow back gray matter volume and connection within the brain, but also it reverses biological agings like
Mhm.
biomarkers of aging like telomerase and telomere lengths, and inflammation is reversed by doing this process, this practices.
Yes, and as I mentioned before we started that We're looking at bringing the topic of the arts are not a nice to have or if you have time and the resources, but they're a critical part of the human lived experience. And I would love for you to dive more into that. I have been following the work of Dr. Augustine. I believe that's his name, or he just published a
Honest,
paper
yeah.
in the,
Mhm.
within the past month about the brain age and the brain gap. And I was like, and those arts plus like video gaming too. That does it. If you could talk more about movement and the cerebellum and what does it mean for us to move with intention?
Oh, movement is essential. When my patients who are older stop moving, they experience decline cognitively and physically almost immediately. So movement is essential to your overall health, your physical and mental and brain health. And more different movements, like you could do yoga, you could do aerobic exercise, you could do it with music, you could do it with breathing. The more you do of different things, the better it is for the brain. It trains and activates different parts of the brain, which we discovered in our studies of yoga with elements when different body parts are moving. It's actually reflected in different parts of the brain. If you're chanting at the same time, which is included in yoga practice, some yoga practices, chanting is it activates a frontal lobe more. Visualization, like a lot of the meditations include visualization, like you're at the beach, you're imagining the sun. And I do it with patients with long COVID who can't go to the beach. They're so disabled that they're restricted to home. I just take them on a visual journey, and that activates posterior of the brain. And by doing this repeatedly, it's like a brain fitness exercise. So simple things like that, you don't have to move. It's not doesn't cost you. You just visualize yourself in the place you would rather be. Your happy place. And people, select. It's very interesting for me to observe what people come up with. Their happy place could be very different for different people, but they can exploit it, use it to their benefit, and feel happy at the same time. And
Ah,
that's what one other thing that I recommend. It's my social prescription, cultivation of joy.
mhm,
5 minutes a day at least to start with for very unhappy people or who are not in a good place. Because their body, if it becomes chronic depression, for instance, or anxiety or stress, their body forgets to be happy,
mm,
and mind.
yeah,
So, and it's a conscious intention of grabbing back your happiness. And that's what fosters your resilience. And people are so resilient
mhm,
all over the world. And we learn it from really difficult circumstances in conflict zones, when people are abused and have a lot of trauma. Children in conflict zones are still children. You could evoke that humanity and smile no matter what is going on.
mhm. Yeah, and I was going to ask you, what are some tools that people can cultivate the joy? Like, what does that look like on
Well, it's
Tuesday?
very personal,
Hmm.
and that's why I ask people, what brings you joy?
Hmm.
And some love music, some love movement, some love exercise. There are exercise fanatics who only feel happy when they're exercising. And so you have to understand what art, certainly any kind of self-expression, art expression, being in nature is a key to human well-being. And those of us who are restricted to large urban areas, again, are deprived from this connection to nature and earth. And I ask them to cultivate that connection. In case of, and it does not have to be complicated, it's backyard or even a house plant. People who
Hmm.
can't move, I just ask them to put a house plant and just talk to the house plant.
Yes. Yes, and, and I'm pretty sure you've seen the studies of the plant actually reacting and everything.
Yeah.
My mom, one time, she started gardening. So funny, I had a student because I'm an educator by trade, and I also have a nonprofit for 6th through 12th graders, and we talk about brain health, creativity, and entrepreneurship in the Van Nuys area north of Los Angeles. But my mother, who's in her 70s now, and my students, like they both started gardening during COVID. And I just love that because there are two opposite ends of the lifespan, but gardening was their saving grace because they both were living alone at the time. And with that, and just that attention of cultivating joy is so important, and especially those first few moments in the morning, if possible. With that, you talked about chanting while doing yoga. I was looking at some research that talked about cognitive working out while you're physically working out. Could you expand a little bit more on that?
Right. So research at this point is showing that brain neuroplasticity or rebuilding itself, building new structures or new gray matter volumes, cells, depends on how complex your practice is. And doing more than one thing at a time improves that. So if you're doing mathematical or Sudoku while being on a stationary bike, that kind of improves brain health. I do use that, and I ask patients, for instance, to choose two things that they would do together. It could
Hmm.
be walking and breathing or meditating. It could be music and movement. Any kind of combination of two stimulations, different ones that stimulate different parts of the brain, would enhance each other.
And we're a huge advocate on dance. And so we have a nonprofit called Brainalicious Adventures, which teaches brain health through the arts and just gets kids and their parents excited about learning brain health. And we are advocate of dance. My co-director, she was on So You Think You Can Dance and Dancing with the Stars. So she's a professional dancer. So she comes in and does these lessons. But there's, you know, research saying that exercise is good, but if you can also dance as well, because of the rhythm and the tempo, have you looked into any of that?
Well, I studied a chanting meditation called Kirtan Kriya, and I did three studies with that. One was with stress dementia caregivers who were middle-aged to older, generally women. And that was the first study that really changed my career trajectory. I bought into it. The results were so overwhelmingly interesting that I couldn't take my eyes off of it and
Mhm.
just pursued. I call it, I did a 720, like they say you did a 180.
Hmm.
And I did like with my career, and I went into that direction was,
Uh-huh.
because what we discovered in stress caregivers who were not demented or had cognitive problems, that this 11-minute meditation completely rewired their brains, improved their cognitive function, although they were not impaired, improved their resilience and mental health, depression, anxiety improved, and improved telomerase levels. And MRI and PET scans changed, showing growth and especially in areas that are relevant to self-awareness,
Hmm. Hmm.
interoception, like this mind-body connections.
Hmm.
So what was interesting, the next study I did was in older adults with memory loss complaints and mild cognitive impairment, because what I realized from that previous study is that it is that even that brief meditation, 11 minutes a day for 8 weeks, was able to rewire the brain and improve cognition that can be used in people who are struggling.
Hmm.
So the next study of with yoga classes and this kirtan kriya as a homework compared to memory training also showed previously anticipated brain fitness effects, that brain regrows and you improve your cognitive performance without taking any drugs. It's available tool. As far as memory performance and brain, it was comparable to memory training, which is designed to improve your memory.
Hmm.
So the next study we did, so the one question that we pursued was, when do you have to do that to reverse brain aging? And we did this in women, postmenopausal women, 50 plus, who don't have any, they have subjective cognitive complaints,
Hmm.
memory decline, and at least one cardiovascular risk factor. So cardio, like blood pressure or diabetes or cholesterol, are known to promote brain aging. So we selected women who had very mild initial risk factors for developing later dementia or Alzheimer's disease. And we ran the same protocol, and they showed prevention of decline in decrement in gray matter volumes in different areas of the brain. But also subjectively, they felt like they are changed people after we finish the study because they realize they have time, they need to take time for themselves, and they now have tools that they could use to feel better, less stressed, and also beneficial for their brain health.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yes, well, I'll certainly have to email you to see if I can get that link to that study, or tell me what to Google to find it. Because I don't know how to spell the, you said Kurtin
It's Kriya. It's so curtain. It's Kirtan, which means song. A song. It's a singing chant.
Oh.
And it's in Gurmukhi language or Sanskrit. It's kirtan. Have you heard of kirtan? It's a practice in
No,
Hindu
no.
practices. Yes, and kriya means a full set of exercises that would lead to some physiological benefit. You know, it's
So
like a
K
if you
R
do
I.
that. So it's actually known in used in South India for prevention of Alzheimer's disease or cognitive decline or aging.
Oh wow.
So we kind of borrowed it from ancient philosophies and
Hmm.
practices, 5,000, 3,000, 5,000 years old, and just applied Western tools of understanding what it does to the entire body and brain
Hmm.
to combine. And that's what I've done with the rest of my career, you know, like that. I find it very gratifying. Let me just tell you about one other very small study, but another gem.
Hmm.
Um, we got college students to do, we exposed them to art, visual art, and that was by Rafika Nadol, who's a digital artist. He became very famous. And he basically creates AI art, machine hallucinations,
Okay.
and he's exhibiting in major museums around the world. And so we wanted people to be exposed to this his art. This is moving art, you know, because it kind of changes shapes. And he downloads large data sets like of national parks
Hmm.
or a database of MRI scans of thousands of brains and creates art out of that, digital art.
Oh wow. Uh-huh.
It's pretty
Wow.
amazing. Yeah.
I went to a neural aesthetic just exhibit at the local museum, and I don't know if I saw his work.
You may have because it's all over. I go to like in Europe to museums and he's exhibited there.
Oh yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. And he's I don't know if he's still a professor at UCLA, but he was at some
Okay.
point.
Oh
Yes.
wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was.
Before he became very famous. And so the next condition was to be exposed to nature in, and again, it's done in a scanner, MRI scanner. People are just watching videos
Hmm.
and then we're taking pictures of their brain at the same time. And the third condition was we showed pictures or videos of nebula, cosmic nebula, like stars, gases, and it's moving kind of thing, you know. And what I train people to do is to connect to their soul. And that's a soul listening meditation that I applied, learned during yoga practices, and applied to clinical settings. That's what I do with patients. I ask them to connect to their soul and have a conversation with the soul and see, you know, like ask questions. And I facilitate this. So we did it in the scanner. And what was interesting, the conditions of being exposed to art and the soul were almost identical when it comes to activation in the brain. And
Mm.
those three are transcendent experiences, if you think
So
about it.
art and nature, right? You
And
just said
nature,
nature.
art, nature, and connection to your own soul.
Wow, wow. Yeah, I've done some studied in just some Hebraic language, and if you understand Hebrew, like there's that root word, and
Mhm.
some words have the same root word, and the rabbi that I was reading under said the word creativity has the same root word as like healing or health, things like that. So it's interesting that stuff that we intuitively knew. I feel like a lot of us were aware of this, but the neuroscience is showing that we were on to something, right? Because you can feel that.
Basically, documenting, we're kind of confirming what Bible and ancient documents had said and ancient practices for millennia.
Yes, someone posted like shocking new news, your belief systems change your brain. And I was like, and I said exactly what you like, this isn't really new or shocking. Like the Bible says, so a person thinks, so is he. And there's other several scripts that are ancient that talk about this too. The neuroscience is just showing us what it was already written. So thank you for saying that as well. And you said also interoception. And I remember my son, we wrote the book. I think I told you, my brain, my beautiful brain. I don't know if you were at the Nations, but we read that. It was a nice brain break for folks. And what I tell him is, like, your body's always talking to you. Like, take time to calm down and listen to it. Now, this was like when he was like 1.5 or 2 and learning how to potty train. And that was my first awareness of I need to teach my son that his body is giving him cues to what the body needs. So how do you take that concept? Because sometimes when I go into corporate training, I do both. I taught elementary school, and now I do a lot of corporate training and keynote speaking with leadership. But how do you tell these executives to like stop and listen to your like that mind body connection? Sometimes they just think it's like foo foo and wee wee, and now it's critical for this type of leadership and just for health overall. How do you present this to adults?
No, I think in corporate world, they're becoming more aware simply because there's so much need. Everybody's stressed,
Hmm.
productivity is down.
Hmm.
What is it that during COVID, everybody was not working, showing up but not working? What is it, canceling?
Oh, yeah, there was a
What is
term
the
for like
name?
either quiet quitting.
Yeah, quiet quitting. Yes, quiet quit. Everybody's quiet quitting. What do you do with that workforce that is not capable of generating anything anymore?
Hmm.
And so corporations and individuals are very much, I mean, really what happened during pandemic, people became very interested in self-regulation, and there's like a renaissance for breathing practices. Everybody's all of a sudden is aware of breathing. I'm giving so many lectures, including to corporate, like aerospace and whoever else wants to know how to improve, distress their employees and how to improve their productivity and not let them quite quit, you know.
Hmm.
Um, so breathing is all of a sudden a thing. We did fundraising with my colleague Jack Feldman, who discovered um, brainstem center for automatic breathing. When we are born, we start breathing automatically, and that's a center that he discovered. And we had this dialogue, and we continue doing this kind of things on podcasts or together or independently at different times,
Hmm.
describing and educating people about breath control as a tool for self-regulation for children, especially because it's universal. You know, you don't have to go into spirituality or religious beliefs because everybody breathes. It's not
This is true.
controversial. I don't
No
have to
matter what you
translate
believe.
kirtan kriya, you know, just I take them to box breathing, which is 3 second inhale, 3 second hold, 3 second exhale,
Mhm.
3 second hold, you know, and for 3 to 5 minutes. And that drops blood pressure and heart rate by 20 points.
Wow. So 3 seconds. So I've heard different types of breathing practices. We were at the Center for Brain Health in Dallas, Texas, and Sean was invited to read and do a family day, and the one of the lecturers, I forgot his name, but he was talking about the importance of the breathing, but he said also try to breathe out more a little bit more. What do you know anything about that?
Yes, I do. So any prolonged, even sighing, you know, I usually ask so corporate people, or if you're in the meeting with a boss, let's say, and you need like a moment to not react to whatever you're told. So you just either close your eyes or kind of get off, you know, not look straight in their eyes, and just start sighing by releasing your shoulders and longer exhale. And the longer exhale, and there are different types of breaths like 4462 or 478 breaths with longer exhale and hold would activate vagal nerve and reset a sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system that are systems adapting us to our bodies to chronic stress or acute stress. That's how we reset ourselves. That's a big red sign, red stop sign when we just have to stop and take a deep breath and exhale for this to disappear or give ourselves space between us and the stressor. And when we do, if everybody on the planet did just that, take a breath before reacting, we would not have wars.
Hmm. Oh, that's good. Yeah, sometimes it's that beautiful. I'm a musician and I taught mu music in my elementary school. And really, I was the first person to put that recorder in their hand, right? Ode to Joy. And the power, even Beethoven, one of his songs, it talked about there's just a rest at the beginning of the song. You don't know it because the song just started, but I was like the power of the pause. Like even Beethoven did it, and to teach that's what we're trying to do with Brainalicious Adventures of how do we integrate this into the school system as well, and to integrate into the prenatal uh, education, and so they can understand that this is just how we respond, right? We don't react to it, but we respond. Anything with, because you're at the collegiate level, but do you ever talk to K-12, and there's a lot of movement going there? I know Dr. Harris was mentioning that California, and you probably know about this, is looking to do their brain capital plan. Um, and I'm trying to just get connected of how can we better communicate with the curriculum developers, with educators on integrating this, because teachers say I have no extra time, do not give me one more thing to do in my classroom, right? But the integration is there of the breath work, of the biophilia. What advice do you have for the educational systems with this new information? We're
It's
not.
not negotiable. If you
Mhm.
want children to concentrate and learn and not take stimulants, drugs, that's what you have to do. And you have to do it starting with pregnant women.
Mhm.
Because there are actually studies that show that women who meditate or do yoga during their pregnancy compared to women who don't have a better outcomes of pregnancies, but also children who are followed later for 2 years achieve milestones sooner, you
Mhm.
know. And they basically, the child in utero does exactly what mom does. If mom turns the head, the child is sort of, if mom breathes and meditates, the fetus goes into that meditative state. So you start training of the fetus in utero.
Mhm.
Given that there's a translation, I mean, we're learning a lot about risk factors for later neurodegenerative diseases
Mhm.
or cardiovascular disease. A lot of it starts in utero programming. And that's my big thing at this point. I'm talking to pediatricians and obstetricians because that's when prevention should start. Also, social determinants of health and race influence of the outcome starts in utero. So the babies in utero, fetuses, all before being born by the ninth months of gestation have 20% higher risk for cardiovascular disease before they're born.
Oh my goodness. I did not know that.
Yeah, American Heart Association has popularized that understanding. Any exposure, moms drinking, driving, I mean, drinking, stress, abuse of substances or physical or whatever, all is programming trauma in the fetus.
Mhm.
So absolutely a must to. So I'm after policies, changing policies for broad public education about their brain health, about knowing their risk factors
Mhm.
and what to do about them, because a lot of this is preventable if we intervene as early as possible. I mean, if we do that at any point, it has benefits, but if we train our children in kindergarten or even earlier how
Hmm.
to breathe. So I'm coming from yoga teacher training.
Hmm.
And in my yoga tradition, which is Kundalini yoga, and I can explain what the term means, but it has prenatal yoga. It starts with actually yoga practices for a couple that wants to conceive. So it's called conscious conception,
Hmm.
where partners are consciously preparing to conceive, and then go through pregnancy, and then have perinatal yoga, mommy and me until age 2. Then yoga practices for children 2 to 5, and then 5 to 15 classes. And all of it gives this protection, skills, but also protection from these risk factors that are embedded, programmed in during this very early period.
Hmm. And that's thank you so much for saying that, because that really encourages me with some of the stuff that we're doing. And once again, as I mentioned throughout the whole talk, of getting this critical information, out of the journals and out of the out of the articles that are, sometimes you have to pay to get access to these things, right? And into the hands. I was just on the phone call with my team, and our next book is called "Oh Baby, Baby." And the way that we do our books, it looks like a children's book at the beginning, but it's actually we talk to the parents and the adult at the end, and that we have the lullaby at the front. But one stanza is about food, one stanza is about stress reduction, one stanza is about music, or just different things, or attachment, to secure attachments in lullaby form. But I love this because it's like we talk to the parents in parent speak. We kind of hit it at around a sixth grade reading level. Um, and there's just so much that I'm still learning of just everything translates to the fetus. And so what actual applicable things can they do? Now, a lot of these terms you're using, even me, who I'm studied, I've never heard before. So where can someone who may not have an extensive background in this, or a high level of education, where's the first place that we go to start to learn?
Well, it takes writing books like, I'm trying to, you're trying to. It takes a village, but also people who are bridges, as you said,
Hmm.
try and finding each other in that commotion,
Hmm.
and building a momentum. And there's certainly a momentum and hunger for that. I think people are growing up, basically. They're willing to take responsibility for their own health,
Hmm.
and they're seeking that information, especially again, what happened during pandemic was not funny, but it was kind of ironic. People are so stressed and they're terrified of death. I mean, fear of death and dying was pervasive everywhere on the planet. Everybody was terrified of that COVID and everything else. I had people who are normally very reasonable, um, washing their produce with all sorts of chemicals just to get rid of the, so it was like ridiculous on some level. So what I would
Hmm.
do with them, I said, can you be humorous about it? you know
Humor.
can you take it,
Mhm.
can you just remove yourself from this and look as an outsider and laugh at it?
Yeah.
So it does, but from that situation, there's some hunger and need and search for education. Like, for example, books like Breath
Hmm.
became very popular. And if you look at the bestseller lists weekly, self-help, how to self-regulate without relying on professionals. That's another thing. There's a lot of burnout in professionals in
Hmm.
medical
Yeah.
field. They're just dropping out. And people were running madly trying to find mental health professionals. And so there's a growth need, but also lack of providers. And then AI is stepping in. People are
Yeah.
talking to their therapist, ChatGPT,
This is
and
true. Yeah.
ChatGPT can hallucinate things. So it's up
Be
to us
bi
who
bi
understand, who
biased.
are bridges, to kind of make this digestible. And like I do a lot of podcasts
Mhm.
because there are very few people like me who can do this, connection. between the science and how to translate it and what's practical. What I learned from my patients and their caregivers is how to provide this digestible information, very simple,
Digestible.
simple solutions. None of it is needs to be complicated.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There are really simple solutions. Like, for example, grounding and earthing could relieve your anxiety. If you spend like children did during pandemic and also being disconnected a lot of time with electronics, you have to ground. Again, none of it is negotiable. It
Mm-hmm.
has to be done. For teachers, has to be done before you do anything else
Mm-hmm.
because otherwise children all have ADHD. They are not able to ground information and they need medications, chemicals.
Yeah.
And that's not the way to live our lives, or that's not how we want our children to live.
And with that, what about the system as far as healthcare? Because, I even had my own experience where for some reason, my sugar was high, but I finally got it down to like 5.5, but it was at 5.7, the A1C or something like that. And I was like, wait, how am I that high? But I was raised in a generation where we drank sugar water, like it's called Kool-Aid. It's colored sugar water just because it's the norm. And so I wanted to talk about that and merge into the microbiome. Is from my house to the freeway, there's like 11 fast food restaurants and no neuroprotective restaurants at all. There's not even a Chipotle, and that's kind of like on the line, right? No tender greens, no salad to goes. And so if I'm caught out there without any food and we have to have appointments and stuff, I have to go to a fast food restaurant. So you and your amazing academics, you know what we have to do, and you're trying to translate it. But then we're put in an environment that is stacked up against us. The industrialized food system is a kabillion, trillion, gazillion dollar industry, and then there's me. Who's lower middle income or middle income. And then there's other people who are lower in income. What are your thoughts about that sometimes it's not our fault sometimes, um,
Right.
depending on how you
I
want to look
mean,
at it.
I do think that education can resolve some of it. Like, for example, if you're going and I've dealt with this question before. So if you're going to a grocery store and you have a choice of buying steak and potatoes versus apples and fresh produce, can you be educated in order to choose to buy fresh produce and apples? In a single store, the price range could be similar, but it's the habit and your gut, the bacteria actually inform our food choices.
Oh, the bacteria talk to
Oh
us
yeah,
too.
yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure, for sure. So that's how you could change your microbiome, but actually making a conscious choice of eating differently because your microbiome that is formed, first of all, you acquire quite a bit from your mom during birth, if
Hmm.
it's a vaginal birth. So a lot of it is, like genetics or epigenetics are translated from passed down. And but your bacteria makes you eat sugar but also you train. It's a bi-directional. So you could actually change the microbiome composition by eating different food.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so if you may, but it's a conscious effort. You have to be conscious enough
Hmm.
and want to change your body and want to influence your microbiome composition because microbiome there's not a gold standard, like not everybody's microbiome is different and it's
Hmm.
based on your eating habits, the produce in the area what is fed, and what your choices of produce is,
Hmm.
and some of it you inherit from your mom. So, you have to understand that. So it has to be explained so that people who are awakening to their power, being empowered,
Yeah.
could make conscious choice. Do I buy steak and potato, or do I buy apple and lettuce or cabbage or whatever, broccoli? Nobody loves, I have not met too many people who love broccoli, but I've seen people, God, you like broccoli? Okay, so you're one in a million. So, but then again, it's based on your microbiome, what your preference is, and your own kind of upbringing, usually what you grow up with. And it does require conscious effort to change it. And so it's very difficult to change behavior, like especially habits, bad habits, or
Yeah.
whatever habits. But that's doable. You can do it with conscious participation and
Mhm.
effort. You could also facilitate it by offering an aisle of fresh produce, or make it more appealing. um, can you send children to the farm to help and pick produce when they become more familiar, and it becomes your friend, like you enjoy it more? I mean, from what I know, if you have like a school trip to a farm, local farm, children are educated. So my son was 6 years old when he first encountered a live fish, and it
Oh,
was such a discovery, because children who grow up in urban areas have no idea where food comes from.
yes, yeah, I know, I know. Oh, adding that in, like, where is your food? The journey of your
The
food.
journey, yeah, yeah, maybe your next book could be about that.
Yeah,
You
well, we
know.
are making a capital brain capital cookbook because
Okay.
I just in the research I was like food is way more important than I realize and with that, but just with the marketing, the over just marketing with ultra processed foods and then just in our life, like I took him to church and the pastor was passing out white covered donuts. I'm just like, you have got to be kidding me. But
Apples and bananas,
I
whatever.
know. But we need to start educating the institutions too, the faith-based places and even the arts thing, they win a prize, here's a bag of Doritos. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna buy a whole bunch of healthy snacks for you so you don't pass out this stuff to our kids. Because they don't know because that's what they were trained off of, right? So it's this generational type of thing.
But also, the policies have to kind of reverse pricing of the produce, so that
Mhm.
it's the cheapest is not the worst.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I
And that's
mean,
what it seems to be. And what are your thoughts about fasting and how does that help with it or hurt? Like, what are your thoughts overall?
fasting is actually used as a health practice. It has to be safe. I mean, people with diabetes can't really fast well. They have to be on a regular regimen. It's not for everybody, but it's certainly used as health and treatment practices in Europe has been forever. Like mental illnesses treated with fasting, because microbiome is informed by fasting as well. You could change your microbiome composition by doing fasting and reset your glucose metabolism. It has to be safe, so you have to be informed about that too, how to do it safely. But like, for example, there's a freestanding psychiatric hospital in Germany that uses as one of the choices. You could choose fasting to be treated for schizophrenia or depression or anxiety, and that would involve 300 calories a day
Hmm.
and for a month. And people do get better with those. I mean, this tradition has a long-standing history
Hmm. Hmm.
of resetting immune system, because your liver, your gut don't have to overwork. And so what happens with feeding, you're kind of overburdening your liver that has to detoxify everything before everything is absorbed in the gut.
Hmm.
Knowing about that and liver health can prolong your life. Like when we age, we have the spots on the skin, right?
Hmm.
That are called liver spots.
Yes, yes.
And that's from eating a lot of unprocessed and not giving rest to your liver and
Hmm.
not taking care of your liver. And, I'm so at this point, the easiest thing to do with fasting is to do controlled timing for the fasting, like 6 hours of eating or 8 hours of eating or 12 hours, whatever you're open to or can accommodate, but just giving your body a rest and
Hmm.
reset. People do water fasts or dry fasts as health practices.
Hmm. So
It has to be done safely.
taking care of your liver, so fasting could be one way. What's another way to take care of your liver?
Well, there are again the ancient practices about liver cleanses. I don't recommend it because people who tend to, I mean, it has to be done safely. You have to
Hmm.
be well
Yes.
informed. Uh, ev- a lot of anything will be harmful.
Hmm.
You can overdo it or do it unsafely. People who use a lot of supplements, dietary supplements to lose weight, they have really problematic effects on liver and other organ systems. You absolutely anything you put or do with your body, you have to be fully informed about risks and benefits
Yes.
and
Yes.
not take. So I deal with a lot of older people who take a lot of medications like polypharmacy for various diseases, chronic diseases of aging, but they take as many or a double amount of supplements. And that's just by trusting advertising. This is for your brain, this is for your memory, this is for your sex drive, this is for this and that.
Hmm.
If you look at the labels, there's a lot of repetition, and
Hmm.
all of it has to be cleansed by liver.
Mm.
The
Oh,
poor
that's
organ is overworked.
yeah.
Just give it a rest at some point.
Let your liver rest. Your liver will thank you. And that was one of the meats that time my mom would bring home. I was like, I don't want to eat that, but I need to take care of mine internally. So that's good to know because I've never really thought about my liver, but it's working hard for us, right?
Yeah.
Wonderful. So as we wind down, thank you so much. What are like just two gems that you really want us to know about our mind body connection? Because a lot of us are walking around disconnected, just because of the society that we're in, and we just weren't taught to do things to connect our body and just like how do you think it affects our creative thinking? So
So
there's two questions.
the one idea is, the preface that I make in front of the book is for um spiritual seekers. What you're seeking is inside you. So you don't have to look outside or trust anybody else. You have this internal wisdom within you, and also your power to heal your body, by the way, with your choices and your conscious intention. And that's how you should live your life happily. you
Mhm.
know People are just feeling, especially in Western culture, are looking outside to external authority. Somebody else knows you better than you do, and
Mm,
that's not true. And you have to cultivate, you have to empower yourself to change your life. I do believe that you can create your reality with your attitude, with your thoughts, especially your thoughts, and learning how to control your thoughts and how to be intentional in anything you do and informed will totally change your life. Learning about your mind body connection empowers you to control it.
mhm,
Be in control and not feeling out of control, reactive. And that's how you become very miserable because you feel like a victim.
mhm.
Nobody needs to be a victim.
Yeah.
We're we're born, I feel like happiness is our birthright, and we have all the rights and abilities to cultivate it.
Wonderful, wonderful. Just I feel like the arts are our birthright because we're human. And lastly, what are your thoughts about journaling? Is that a part of your
It's a
toolkit?
part of cultivation of awareness,
Hmm.
journaling, especially automatic writing, when you just let it go and you just write,
Hmm.
a stream of consciousness. You get to your subconscious, which is usually the goal of meditations to cleanse your subconscious so that you become a more authentic person, because our subconscious is programmed by a lot of people, our parents, churches, schools, and we never quite know what we are like as authentic selves.
Hmm.
So we have to relieve ourselves, liberate ourselves from this programming in
Hmm.
order to discover what is our journey, our authentic truth, and not listening to anybody else.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Align with our soul, as I call it.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, thank you so much. Was there anything else that you wanted to talk about or to cover or to share?
I think it's a fascinating life is a fascinating journey for all of us, and we just have to take an advantage of that and not get stuck and consider everything that happens in our lives, not to us, but as our creation. And it's there to inform us, not to harm us, but inform us, and we could grow even from difficult experiences.
Beautiful, beautiful. And if people wanted to find out more about you and see your work, where should they go?
Oh, I have several websites. My personal website with my work in that realm that we just discussed is Dr. Helen Lavretsky, drhelenlavretsky.com. That has blogs about all those things, but also anticipates the books and all the writings and interviews that I've done. But I also have several websites at UCLA, Late Life Mood Stress and Wellness Program. I am the director of research for the Integrative Medicine Collaborative and Integrative Psychiatry. So, and I've written a lot, I've given a lot of interviews, and I write a lot for the public. And so
Wonderful. Well, thank you for your contribution. And there's even that field of nutritional psychiatry and everything that's really being birthed right now as we get a hold on this and give people some better solutions for living the best life they can, a creative life. And so thank you so much for being on the Create and Grow Your Brain Capital podcast. Thank you for your contribution and your time today.
Thank you so much for inviting me, and good luck with your work. It's much needed.
Thank you.